All right, so prepping for a senior tax accountant interview, huh?
Yeah.
You've probably, aced those basic questions in the past.
Right.
But when you're going for a senior role, they want to see something a little extra.
Yeah.
So think of this deep dive as your secret weapon, all right?
Okay.
We're diving into Indeed.com's interview questions and answers for a senior tax accountant guide.
Okay.
And we're going to help you really stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, having those solid technical skills, that's pretty much a given at this level.
Right.
But what I think is really interesting is how much this guide stresses those kind of less obvious qualities.
Oh, okay.
You're not just a number cruncher anymore.
Right.
You got to
right.
show them you can think strategically and handle all those tax complexities.
So what are some examples of these less tangible qualities that make a senior tax accountant really shine?
Well, one that really stood out to me was staying updated.
Okay.
I mean, knowing the tax code's just the beginning.
Right.
You got to show them you're committed to keeping up with all the changes.
Okay.
And they had this really cool tip.
Yeah.
When they ask you how you stay current, don't just rattle off a bunch of publications.
Okay.
Talk about a recent change, something that actually impacted your work.
So instead of just saying, I read the Journal of Accountancy,
Right.
you could say, when those bonus depreciation rules changed last year, I had to totally rethink our client's investment strategy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That shows you're not just reading stuff.
Yeah.
You're actually applying it to real-life situations.
Right.
And that kind of proactive thinking, that's what sets a senior candidate apart.
Makes sense. I was also surprised to see Indeed emphasize software skills.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's important,
It is.
but I feel like it's often overlooked.
Oh, absolutely. And again, just listing software on your resume, that's not enough.
Right.
They suggest taking it a step further. Show them how you actually use it, especially the tax-specific software.
Okay.
So think Go System Tax RS, Pro Series, and even advanced Excel functions for those really tricky calculations.
So have you used those tools to streamline a process or analyze a difficult tax situation?
Yeah.
So it's about showing how you use those tools to get real results.
Exactly.
Like by mastering pivot tables in Excel, I was able to identify a pattern of deductible expenses
Yeah.
and we saved our client thousands.
Perfect example. It's about quantifying your achievements,
Right.
connecting them back to those tools. You're not just a tax accountant, You're a financial detective,
I love that.
armed with all this powerful software.
And speaking of detectives, the guide also really stresses problem-solving skills, which makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Senior role, you got to be a problem solver.
Absolutely.
But they went beyond just, being a good problem solver.
Right.
Yeah.
They really emphasized understanding all those little nuances in tax law,
Okay.
how even tiny details can have a big impact financially.
Right.
They actually gave this great example about a senior tax accountant
Oh, yeah.
who noticed some assets were classified wrong,
Uh-huh.
and it was causing the company to overpay on their property taxes.
Oh, wow.
But by catching that mistake, they saved the company a ton of money.
Yeah, that's the kind of story that really resonates. You're not just filling out forms, you're finding hidden savings.
Exactly.
Optimizing strategies. And I feel like you'd be the most popular person in the office come tax season.
For sure.
Everyone wants to be your friend.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about bringing something to the table,
Sure.
adding value.
Right?
And for a senior tax accountant, that means thinking outside the box a lot of the time.
Okay.
Now, as we get into some specific questions they might ask you,
Okay.
remember, being prepared is really key here.
Right.
And Indeed gives some really good sample answers.
Yeah.
But don't just memorize them.
Right.
Think of them more like frameworks.
Okay.
Something you can personalize with your own stories.
So it's like, here's the basic structure. Now make it your own.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's take a common question. Like,
Oh.
can you describe a complex tax issue that you solved?
Yeah.
What kind of approach would really impress a senior level interviewer?
Well, they're looking for more than just a technical explanation, right?
Right.
Want to see how you analyze things.
Okay.
Your strategic thinking, how well you can explain something complicated, make it clear.
Got it.
So instead of just saying what the problem was and how you fixed it,
Okay.
kind of walk them through your thought process.
Okay, so how did you approach it?
Exactly. What resources did you use? What were the big things you had to consider?
So it's almost like you're teaching them.
Yeah.
Not just I did this, but here's how I figured this whole thing out and why my solution worked.
Exactly. And whenever you can, put some numbers to it.
Oh, okay.
Did you save the company money?
Right.
Did you make things more efficient? Did you
Right.
spot a risk? Those kinds of solid examples really make your story stronger,
Right.
and they show what kind of impact you can have.
I bet the way you tell the story matters too, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is this is where you can really let your passion for tax accounting shine.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to show some enthusiasm, right?
Hey.
I mean, you're not just spitting out facts, you're sharing your expertise.
You're the expert.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about showing off those skills and experience,
Right.
but what about those tricky behavioral questions?
Yeah.
Like, how do you handle stress, especially during tax season?
Yeah.
I know Indeed talks about
We
those.
do, and their advice is really good.
Okay.
First, acknowledge that tax season it's tough on everyone.
It's a stressful time.
It is.
Right.
But then you shift to talking about how you stay organized and productive
Mm,
even when it's crazy busy.
okay.
And this is where having senior level experience really helps. You've
Mm.
you've been there, done that, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
You have systems to manage all that work.
So instead of saying, I just drink a lot of coffee,
Yeah.
you could talk about how you prioritize tasks, delegate effectively, use project management tools.
Exactly. Senior roles are more than just reacting to things.
Uh-huh.
You need to show that you think ahead, and that you have systems to handle challenges.
Right, right.
And don't be afraid to talk about your communication skills too.
Okay.
How do you keep everyone on your team in the loop and motivated when things are super busy?
That makes sense. Okay, so we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
But Indeed also has this section on more senior tax accountant interview questions.
Right.
These seem like they dig a little deeper,
They do.
really get into those subtle things that make a candidate stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. These questions explore things like process improvement, handling criticism, dealing with conflict,
Oh, okay.
areas that show your potential as a leader, how mature you are professionally. Like, for example, they ask about a time you made a process better in a past role.
So this is where you can really show initiative, problem-solving skills,
Mhm.
beyond just the tax stuff.
Right.
Did you streamline something, make it more efficient?
Yeah. Did you find a bottleneck and fix it?
Exactly.
Think about a time when you went above and beyond what you were asked to do and made a real difference.
Okay.
Maybe you spotted a recurring mistake in tax filings,
Yeah.
and you put a new system in place to prevent it.
Right.
Or maybe you noticed that different departments weren't communicating well,
Right.
and you started a cross-training program to get everyone on the same page.
So it's about showing that you're not just happy with how things are.
Right.
You're always looking for ways to improve, to add value.
Exactly.
And that's a big part of what makes a senior tax accountant successful.
True.
Now, another question in this section that I thought was really interesting was another question in this section that I thought was really interesting was, how would you handle a situation where a client is disagreeing with your interpretation of the tax code?
Yeah.
It seems like they're really trying to see how you handled those, potentially tricky client interactions.
Oh, for sure. Senior level roles usually mean more interaction with clients.
Right.
So showing strong communication and interpersonal skills is crucial.
Right. Right.
In that kind of scenario, it's not about, winning the argument.
Right.
It's about finding a solution that works for the client,
Okay.
but also follows the tax rules.
Right.
It's got to be legitimate.
So how would you approach something like that? Would you just point to the tax code and say, look, I'm right?
Well, that's definitely not what Indeed suggests.
Okay.
They really emphasize clear communication, but with empathy too.
Okay.
So you start by acknowledging the client's concerns, right? Make sure you really understand their point of view.
Okay.
Then, calmly and professionally explain how you're interpreting the tax code.
Okay.
Back it up with documentation, examples, whatever's relevant.
So it's almost like you're kind of teaching them,
Yeah.
walking them through those tax laws. then.
Exactly. Helping them see the bigger picture.
Okay.
And if they still disagree,
Yeah.
be ready to offer some other options, other strategies.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a different approach that would get a similar result,
Right.
but also address what the client's worried about.
So it's about being flexible,
Yeah.
finding that common ground, even when it's complicated or could get a little heated.
Right.
That's a good skill to have in any job,
It is.
but especially in tax accounting where, there's a lot at stake.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of, going that extra mile, Indeed also mentions certifications for senior tax accountants.
Yeah.
Things like the CPA, certified public accountant, or the enrolled agent, EA.
Yep. Those can really make you stand out.
Okay.
They show you're serious about this profession, you know, that
Hmm.
you've mastered those advanced tax concepts.
And for someone aiming for a senior role, that extra validation, that could be a big deal.
It is. It's like saying, "Hey, I've put in the time, I've put in the effort, I'm a real expert."
Right, right.
It shows that commitment to professional development, and employers really like that, especially for leadership roles.
Makes sense. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind as they get ready for their senior tax accountant interview?
Well, first things first, preparation is everything.
Right.
Go through those common interview questions, practice your answers, think about specific examples from your career,
Okay.
you know, things that really show off your skills and experience.
And don't forget to make it personal.
Oh, absolutely. Weaving your own stories into those answers, that's what makes you memorable.
Right.
That's what makes you stand out.
You're not just another candidate.
Exactly.
Make it memorable. Make it you.
Yep. And beyond the technical stuff, don't forget about those other qualities.
Right.
Communication, problem solving, leadership.
Those soft skills.
Yeah, those are the things that really set a senior candidate apart.
And hey, maybe this deep dive has gotten you thinking, could a certification like a CPA or an EA be your next step?
Hmm.
It's something to think about as you keep working towards that dream senior tax accountant job. Good luck.